Hi, I'm Jeff Bell from Startup Hub, TemplateMonster, free educational project. Welcome to our first webinar. We're going to talk about branding do's and don'ts with awesome Andrea Beltrami. She's the heart and the owner of the branded Solopreneur. She is known for being straight shooting California girl. She helps her clients to create instantly recognizable, memorable brands that stand out. And today she's going to share her knowledge, her exclusive experience with us. And that's very nice of her. Hi, Andrea.
What's up, Jeff? I'm stoked to be here, and you bet we're going to get down to some branding, as I like to call badassery. So
Nice.
That's what's on the menu today.
Nice. So it's going to be kind of an interview, more of kind of thing. The first question is, what is brand? I've read you say it's neither a logo nor color scheme. What is it then in easy terms for beginners?
A brand is everything that represents your brand. I mean, that really is. So it's your the voice, the experience, the purpose, the mission, and then it's all the visual things that people typically think, like your logo and your website and all of that stuff. But it's every single thing that you put out into the world that represents your brand. So whether that's text, whether that's voice, video, every single piece of that is your brand. So a brand is not just one thing. It's really like, brand is your pantry, right? And it has all these individual things in it. And that really, and then you go in the kitchen and you craft up these things, and you always use these same ingredients. And that's really what branding is about. It's about consistency, and it's about clarity, and it's about really understanding your brand from the inside out.
So would you say, how is it important to begin from the very start? Like, when you just install the WordPress engine, should you begin branding, and when should you begin branding? And how can a startup entrepreneur or a solopreneur begin branding? What should one do?
Absolutely. And so here's the thing. A lot of people go ahead and they do that, right? So they create a website and they slap a logo up there, and then they have a brand. The thing is that branding really starts long before, or should start long before you ever get to the visual things, right? So before you get to the website, before you get to your logo, it starts out as a development phase. So there's brand development, and then there's brand design. And a lot of people confuse the two. The development is about getting things on paper. It's about figuring out what your voice is. It's about figuring out what your mission is. It's about figuring out what the exact topics that you're going to teach on. It's about figuring out the exact services or products that you're going to offer. There's so much to figure out before you're ever ready for the visual side of things. And that's what a lot of solopreneurs confuse. And a lot of them end up, getting a certain amount in there, right? They start a blog and they start to get some traction, but then they feel a disconnect, or they feel like they're not, everything's kind of like a little over here and over there, and it feels haphazard and doesn't feel like everything's cohesive. And 9 times out of 10, it's like what they need to do is go back to development, because they have gaps inside their brand. So it definitely starts at a development phase, and then it goes on to an inspiration phase, which I call, and that's, again, gathering everything together so that you really have a good idea of what you want your voice to be and your visual style and that sort of thing. And then you get to the creation phase. So you can see, like, there's a lot of work that needs to be done before,
yes.
You slap a logo up. A logo is not numero uno on the list to do.
So would you say branding online is a lot different from branding in the real world, like, opening a store or something? And how is it different, and what are the key things to online
There's
branding?
Definitely differences between the online world and a brick and mortar world, right? And differences come as far as how the business runs, how the back end runs, how marketing is approached, and that sort of thing. But really, from a branding standpoint, from a development and a design standpoint, it's not any different. You have to have the same basic ingredients. You have to have the same unwavering foundation and clarity to work from. So really, from a branding standpoint, it isn't too much different. It starts to get different when you get into the logistics, the business model, and the marketing side of things. But when you're talking about, creating a brand, it's really not different. It's not too different.
So if say you have a local business, a small bakery or something, is online branding as important as for international enterprise? Which of those two would have to develop their brand more, to put more effort into their brand? And what are the difference for small businesses and for larger ones?
Well, I mean, the huge difference is usually the size of team and the amount of resources that you can devote to a brand. There's not a whole lot of difference between the local bakery and Apple as far as branding goes. When you're a local bakery, you still need to understand who your customer is. You still need to understand where they hang out so that you can go talk to them and share value and share discounts and things that are going to get them over to the bakery. It's the same way as online. If you're creating an e-course or you're creating a membership site or something like that, like TemplateMonster, you still have to have all the same basics in place. It's just you operate it differently, right? So the local bakery is probably going to go to maybe the colleges that are around, or coffee shops or things. And if you're online, you might go to Twitter and you might go to this forum site or that kind of thing. It's just a different hangout. It's just a different location, but all the basics remain the same. Like regardless of what the business is, the basics, the foundation and the elements you need remain the same. The difference really comes down to every business is different, right? So your approach is going to be different, your voice is going to be different, the look's going to be different. But really at the end of the day, what separates a local bakery from Apple is, the size of team and the size of investment. But the clarity and the consistency needs to be there no matter what size business you are.
So I understand that. That's great. But if you're a one person business, if you run it yourself, if you have to get up like 5 a.m. every morning and go and bake your stuff, how can one turn his local business into an online thing? What are the steps into putting your brand? Say, local businesses have a brand already. The grannies that live in the same building, they already know about you. How do you put yourself on the map online? What are the steps? Like you said, forums, and what are the steps for putting yourself on the map online?
Yeah, so the one really big thing online, especially, and this is true for local businesses, but it happens a lot easier. It's relationship building. So what you want to do to get online is you want to figure out where the people are you want to reach, and you want to start talking with them, not to them. You don't want to start lobbing shit at them. You don't want to start just marketing to them. You want to start listening to them. You want to start engaging them. You want to start conversations with them, right? And then you want to start introducing your business to them in a non-hard sales way, right? So again, if you're a bakery, you could share some recipes, right? Or you could share, what you can pair the things that you buy with, or you can share the top 5 bakeries in the area, or, there's so many ways that you can share value. But really at the end of the day, to get online and really make a splash, you need to invest in your relationship thing, and you need to invest in your time to be really active in a consistent way in where that is. So whether that's Twitter, whether it's a forum, whether it's Facebook, like every day you have to be on it. Every day you have to be talking and adding value. Every day you need to be sharing other things that do not directly lead to your business, because like I said, it all wraps around a bow of relationship building. If people don't trust you and like you, it's an end. It's a deal breaker. If they don't trust you and like you, then they're not going to get to the next step where they become a client.
So, I noticed that you're very, very active on social media. Your responses in comment section on the branded Solopreneur, they're just like separate posts sometimes. So what tools do you use for socializing with your fans? What tools do you use for, to keep in touch? What tools do you use for making it more efficient, more fast, to make it easier?
Yeah. There's really only one tool I use, and that's Buffer. I swear by Buffer. That's a scheduling tool. They have a free plan, and then they have a I think they call it the awesome plan. It's like $10. a month, it's worth every single penny, because I can schedule all my stuff, you know, and I schedule tons of, like, I share a lot of other people's content, that sort of stuff. Then every day when I am, you know, going online to be active, it's not about that I have to, okay, schedule this and then in 2 hours, like, know that I need to go back and schedule that. Now it's just about, like you said, now I can go thank people. I can start conversations with people who did share my work or liked my tweets. Then all of my time on a daily basis is just spent relationship building. So really, I think, and I've gotten this far just on that one tool. So really, I don't think you need to invest a ton. You need to be really clear. You need to stay away from that whole squirrel syndrome where it's like, I want to be here, I want to be there, I want to be ever. You know, it's like, get consistent. Like I said, pick 1 to 2 platforms or 2 places that you're going to be really active with your people. Go on every day. But, you know, tool-wise, that's all I use, to be honest. Like, you know, I have a Evernote, and I use Evernote, and anytime I see somebody's content or webinar or anything that I want to share, I copy and paste that link, and that's the document I work from. So then every Sunday I go and I schedule all my posts for Twitter,
Nice.
Pinterest, Facebook, LinkedIn, I mean, all of it on this $10 tool. It takes me like 3 hours on a Sunday, and that's for 7 days. And honestly, now I have a VA that does that. So it's like, I don't even need to do that. It's amazing. But you don't need a lot of tools. You just need to be organized.
Nice. So, you know, like, everyone wants to have a startup now. Everyone is an entrepreneur now. Everyone wants to have their own business. Is it for everyone? Or are there some skill set? Are there some skills that you need to have as a personality to become an entrepreneur, to have your, well, only a real, well, not everyone needs a brand, right? How do you understand that you're ready to have a brand and to start selling yourself? How do you understand that, and what are the steps in this direction for people who are not sure yet? Maybe they work in the office now and so they want to turn their life around. What do they do? Yeah,
it's not for everyone. Let's just be honest. But I don't think there's a, you know, here's the person it's not for. It's not a personality type that's not going to work. You could be dry. You can have no sense of humor. You can be, you know, really funny and inappropriate. You can be anything that you are online and in a work. What it's not for is someone who's not willing to put the work in. Here's the thing. I love this quote. I can't even remember who said it, but it's like, entrepreneurs work 100 hours a week, so they don't need to work 40 hours a week for somebody else. That's what an entrepreneur is. It's not less work. It's not easier than going to an office job and getting a steady paycheck. But it's for those of us that it's in our blood, it's in our soul, like, it's our dream, and we're ready to put the work in. So if you're not ready to learn the things that you don't know, like, I'm not a writer. I had to learn how to write. I mean, I don't know how to write. I don't even know how to spell most of the time. I don't know where the hell a comma goes. You know, I'm not a writer, but to market and to do sales pages.
No one knows about the commas. It sucks.
That's why I'm like, this is funny. I had a friend who's like, you know, PhD in fucking writing or something. I don't know. And he's like, well, really, back in the day, like back in the Stone Ages, like what they did, or biblical days, they used a comma when they took a breath. And I was like, oh, and he's like, so you really do write that way? Because he's like, you just yammer and you never breathe. So he's like, that's why you have these run-ons that are 2 paragraphs long. And I'm like, oh, I love it. So that's what I do. If I'm like, okay, blah, 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 that's where I'll put a comma.
Nice.
Otherwise, who the
I'm
hell
gonna
knows?
use it. I'm gonna use it for the next guide. I swear.
It's totally genius. Like, I was just like, done. That's where I'm using a comma. So my sentence might be 2 paragraphs, but it might have 18 commas in it. So you need to learn the skills that you don't have. Like, I have the design, but if you don't have the visual skills and you want to create your brand yourself and you want to create your images yourself, then you got to learn design. And it doesn't mean that you have to, you know, go to college, get a degree, or study design for 3 years to be able to do what you need, especially at the beginning, because later on down the line, you can certainly pay someone to do a brand refresh and to help you polish it up. You can definitely get far, you know, doing something that's not A++ work, but nonetheless, you have to be willing to do a lot of work and a lot of hustle. And that's the bottom line. You can do it. You can learn it. You can figure it out. There's so many hundreds of people that have proven it out there. But like I said, if you're not willing to do work for 100 hours a week so that you don't have to work 40 for somebody else, then that's probably not for you. I mean, it takes massive, unwavering commitment.
Oh, you disappointed a lot of people, a lot of inspired young people who wanted to become solopreneurs and wanted to just work 10 hours a week and just rest all the time.
Well, sorry to burst your bubble, but that's
Yeah.
the truth. I speak the truth. Like you said, I am a straight shooter, and that's the honest
Yeah.
truth. If you're gonna try to do this 10 hours a week, it's not gonna work.
Right. So you mentioned before that you need some skills you need some visual skills, you need to know how to work, say, with Photoshop or whatever. What other technical skills do you need, like HTML, CSS, PHP? What do you need to put a site online to put the most basic design on and like go on from there? What
You
did
don't
you
need
need?
you don't need all the skills. You certainly don't need PHP,
Oh, okay.
CSS maybe. But look, there's so many things like WordPress, and they have so many amazing themes, and they have Squarespace, and a lot of these things, they're drag and drop. They don't take technical skills. It doesn't take coding anymore to do websites. I used to do websites like back in the Dreamweaver days, like late
Wow.
90s, early 2000s. Yeah, like awful. Like, hell no, it's so horrible. So, and then things like, you don't necessarily need to know Photoshop at the beginning. There's things like Canva and PicMonkey. What you need to know is the basics of marketing, sales, and branding. The actual technical skills will come, and there's a lot of tools out there to help you, especially free tools. I mean, Canva and PicMonkey are free. WordPress.org, it's free. I mean, you have to pay for your hosting plan, and then I would
Domain and
definitely,
yeah.
for your domain, and I would definitely suggest using a paid theme. The free themes just are really buggy, and they don't have any support. So when you do have an issue, there's nobody to go ask. But you just have to learn the basics of marketing, sales, and branding, and you don't have to be an expert overnight. It's a journey. It takes time. I'm 2.5 years into I'm a year into the branded solopreneur, but 2.5 years in really serious full-time online, and I'm just now learning how to do a sales page. Like, I'm not an expert at everything. I have my superpowers, and I learn the shit I need when I need it. And I'm launching a course, so guess what? Now it's time to go learn a sales page. Like, not my favorite, but if I want to do it myself and I don't have a couple $1,000s to pay a copywriter and a designer to do it, then guess what happens? Well, I got to buckle down, spend a week or two learning how to do a sales page.
Can you tell us about the background project before the branded solopreneur? What were the projects before it, and what they taught you, and what did they bring into, each of them brought into branded solopreneur? And well,
Yeah, I love that question, because another misconception that a lot of people have is they look at people like me or other people that seem to have, our shit together, but they don't realize that, or like, so I launched the branded solopreneur October 2014 or November 2014, right? So I made a ton of progress, like, and people think that that was the first brand. What you don't understand is most people that you look out there that you think they have their shit together and like, oh, they got all this traction in a year. Guess what? 9 times out of 10, there's 5 brands that they had before that failed and taught them everything they knew that made them a success when they finally launched and got it right. And that's the same case with me. I had 4 brands before the branded solopreneur. One was extremely successful and it was great. I was actually selling wine bottle, like soy candles and lanterns, and I manufactured all the stuff myself. It was a family business, and we just had some family issues. My mom got really sick, and we just closed the business down. The other 2, though, and so that one taught me a lot about selling, tangible physical products. It taught me a lot about the shipping and the checkout process and sales as far as that went. That was huge. But I also had 2 other brands that tanked. One was the epitome of what I think every person kind of starting out does. I chose a topic that the brand was called Chic Geek Academy. I chose a topic that was so out of my wheelhouse, which was email marketing. I didn't know shit about email marketing, let me just say. But I didn't believe that I could do anything about designer branding. Like, I didn't think like what do I do with that? How do I monetize? Like, I had no experience. I was coming from corporate America where I was not really liked because of the sass and the straight shooting, really brutally honest personality of mine. So I was really insecure about my voice and being able to be authentically me. And the entire brand, I ran it for a year and a half, and I did nothing. Nothing was successful about it. Nobody knew who the hell I was. Nothing happened. I never really sold anything. It was awful. And that's really the brand. That was the brand right before the branded Solopreneur. And that was my come to Jesus moment. Like, that was my aha moment. Like, I got really real, and it was like, if you're going to do this stuff online, you got to be you, or you got to throw in the towel. And that one taught me everything, because I was what I call a marketing robot. I didn't talk the way I normally talk. I didn't teach anything that I knew. I thought I had to pretend to know everything to be in this expert space. Like, I bought every misconception out there, and ultimately it made me a huge disaster. But with those 4 brands for the branded Solopreneur, they all got me here. So it was 3.5 years before I got to the branded Solopreneur. 3.5 years of fail upon learning upon learning. I mean, it's a process. You aren't going to come out of the gate usually really successful. You got to learn. You got to put in the time, just like we did in corporate America, just like we did, or corporate anything, and just like we did in school, right? We went to school for 12, 16 years to get a degree. You can't expect to be a raving, successful, 6-figure entrepreneur in a year. It's like anything else, and it takes time.
Nice. So, more on that. How does a person say, what if you tried to create a startup or a brand several times and failed? How do you know that there is a success somewhere around the corner? Or how does one distinguish if one should settle and get an office job, or one should continue on pursuing their dream? And can one combine office job and, like, you know, making a brand and getting popular and so on and so forth? So can one do these things simultaneously?
Okay. So here's my thing. I've heard it a million times. I kind of wish someone would have tough loved the shit on me with this at the beginning. Nobody is ever going to give you permission. They're not going to give you permission to try it. They're not going to give you permission to keep doing it after you fail 20 times. You know if it's inside of you. Like, for me, this has been a life dream, like lifelong dream. I wanted to be an entrepreneur when I was a kid. Both of my parents are self-employed entrepreneurs my whole life. I grew up in that environment. I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do or how I wanted to do it, but I knew I wanted to do it. So, you know, everybody fails. Every single person you see out there that's hugely successful, I don't care if it's in the online entrepreneur space, the celebrity space, the author space, coach, speaker, they failed and they heard no a million times. If that is going to stop you, this is going to be a long, hard road. You're going to have fails. And really, you learn so much more from the fails. Like I said, I had 3 brands that massively failed. And I nailed it with the branded Solopreneur. Why? Because I fucked up everything you could have done wrong. And I learned from all of those. Like I said, nobody's going to give you permission to try again. Nobody is. Like, it has to come from within, and it also has to come from a support system. I mean, you have to get into some kind of group with people that are doing it. I mean, a lot of us are coming from families that are like, no, stay in the office. It's really steady. You know, that's too scary. You're not ready. And so it's so hard to do it because you don't have that support system going. You can do it. And, you know, the other part of that question was, can you do an office job while you do it? Absolutely. A lot of people go that route, and they build the business while they still have the full-time job. But make no mistake, that's a lot of work. You have 2 full-time jobs. So, you know, again, don't think that you can go to 8-hour a day job and then do an hour of work at night for your business. Like, you're going to be up to 1 or 2. Okay. And that needs to happen 5 to 6 days a week. And again, you still need to be online and connecting and active. So Absolutely. You can do whatever you want to do. You can have 5 jobs and be an entrepreneur if you're driven and you want to do that. Nobody's going to give you permission, and nobody can tell you you can't. And if they do, use that to channel it. But make no mistake, you're going to fail no matter what intentions you have to do everything perfectly, no matter how many courses you buy and how many coaches you listen to, you're going to fail. And that's not going to mean the end of you. That's going to teach you the most important lesson you need to know. And then you're going to move on and make the next mistake and learn from that. It's going to happen for the next 20 years, 50 years, however long you're in business. It's just part of being an entrepreneur. The ones that make it are the ones that keep getting up.
So would you say it's harder or easier now to do online business, to make a brand online with all the competition? With everyone is going online now, with huge corporations sniping the clients from small local businesses. Do you think it's harder now to get your niche, or is it easier now?
I think it's probably harder. I mean, because of the saturation, like you said. I mean, there's not really any niche that hasn't been tapped into. There's not really, anything that hasn't been said or done online at some point. But that's not to say that it's not possible. That's why branding and marketing and sales are so important, because it's all about standing out online. It's all about finding your place in it and being different in a way that you stand out. So it's definitely harder. It is not, 15 years ago, you could slap a website up, do some SEO, and you get thousands of traffic, a day. It's not that way anymore. You don't build it and they will come. You have to do the work and get the exposure out there. So, no, it's not getting any easier. It's going to get tougher, but it's not any less impossible now than it was.
So, and what is your vision then of the branding and of online business? How is it transformed? Where is it going? What do small business owners online should prepare themselves for? In terms of branding, in terms of online business, and
to standing out, to being different. The misconception for a lot is that you need to be the same. You need to sound the same. You need to look the same. Being different isn't okay. And that's what I believed. I believed that, I have a total trucker mouth and I have this sassy attitude, and there's so many things that I thought this is going to separate me and people are going to hate me. But actually, that's what has helped me stand out. And that's what you need. So you need a signature look for your website. You need something that doesn't look like everything else. You need to be yourself. You have to infuse your personality into it. You have to be quirky and silly, or whatever it is that you are. You have to own it. You have to be unapologetic about it. And you have to be fiercely, consistent about that. That's really, you have to have that these days. You can't just be a blogger and I'm just gonna throw a link on Twitter and I don't really have even a color palette. You have to have your shit together these days. You really do.
Well, what are your favorite platforms, social networks for distributing your content, and which would you recommend for which kind of brand, for which kind of business? Like Pinterest for this, and Twitter for this, and Facebook for, makes sense?
Yeah. And there's not, to be honest, I'm not really willing to give a super specific answer on that, because there's so many things that work for each one. What you need to decide is where the people are that you want to reach and what you actually enjoy doing. So, for instance, I could be on Periscope. I know there's tons of branding people on. I know people are killing it on Periscope, but that's not really I don't enjoy it. I hate just talking to a camera. I need something like this where I vibe off of you. I love video, but just talking to something where there's shit floating up my screen is not my thing. But you just have to decide, it has to be a platform that the people you want to reach are on. So Pinterest is great for, crafts and design and weddings and clothes and mommy stuff and recipes, and Facebook is pretty much everything's on Facebook. It's all about targeting, but it's dude, you can pretty much reach anything. LinkedIn's definitely more on the corporate side of things, a little bit more polished up. It's not really for a lot of bloggers, it's for a lot of service based. Twitter, I'm still wrapping my brain around because I thought Twitter was like celebrity driven. Like, where's Paris Hilton this week? Like, I don't give a shit. So, you know, it's all about what you enjoy, where you enjoy spending your time and where your people enjoy spending time, finding the commonality between that. And that's your sweet spot and where you should hang out.
So do you see any difference? Do you see how millennials are different from the previous business generation, you know? And do you have any life hacks or advice, pieces of advice for millennials? And like, you know, they need help, we need help.
I love it. It's like you're the representation. You're like, we need help.
Yeah.
We'll work for tips, right? All right, so yeah, there's difference because there's always a difference in generation, right? And millennials grew up on technology, so there's a lot more tech savvy abilities. There's a lot different ways that you can market to millennials because they're always connected and that sort of stuff. But don't discredit, you know, the other generations because a lot of them are, you know, getting to that place. But speak who you're speaking to, right? I mean, if you're talking to a millennial, you can use so much of the like text type talk where it's like, you know, LOL instead of this and all these like, you know, initials and that kind of stuff because they're super hip and hyped to that. Whereas older people, like I have a lot of my peeps are like from 20 to 45 and I'll say things like that. I'll write like some kind of acronym on it. And I get ladies all the time. They're like, okay, I feel like an ass, but what does that mean? I do it. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be the ass and ask. And who goes over to Google and like, what does this mean? Like, I don't know what the hell it means. So, you know, you want to talk to the people that you're trying to reach. If you're going to millennials, it's going to be different than if you're going to, you know, targeting someone in their 50s. If you're going to target a retire or even like a mommy blog, right? If you're going for young moms, you're going to speak a certain way. And if you're talking to older moms, you're going to speak another way. So it's just really about understanding who you're targeting and understanding, you know, how they talk, what they think about, what they hate, what they love, what they vent about, what makes them laugh, what makes them cry. It's really about getting in touch with their customer and nailing that. And again, that's why I said marketing, sales, branding, that's where you need to spend the time, like really diving into your skill set.
Can you share maybe your secrets? How do you market what were your milestones of branding and marketing the branded Solopreneur? What did you use? You emailed marketing the shit out of it, or you CEO it, or what did you do to make it popular, to make it successful? How did it get viral, and
I like that you said how to get viral. I don't think it went viral yet, but I definitely made some pretty good traction in the first year. And here's what I did. I did focus heavily on building the list, like from the very beginning. So I created that quintessential guide that I'm known for, which is the quick and dirty guide to branding for solopreneurs, or a solopreneur's guide, a quick and dirty guide to branding. As my opt-in offer, it's a really great guide. I would highly suggest people go, you know, grab that. But that was like my flagship freebie. So it was like, I want you to get on my list. Here's a totally free guide that's going to walk you through exactly what branding is about, exactly what the process, you know, the overview of the process looks, gave tons of tips, and then promoted the shit out of that. So anytime I do something like this, anytime I'm a guest, all over social media, I just shared that link at the end of every blog post. Everything that I did for like the first 6 months especially, it came back to that because I wasn't selling anything at the beginning. I just wanted to build trust. I wanted to build my authority. I wanted to build the website. I needed to get some blog posts out there so that I really had a meaty website that was like great to come and you're actually going to take things away. I have always led with list building. I believe the money is in the list. I believe that a list allows you to build a really killer relationship. And I think we can all agree, millennials or not, like our email is fucking gold. Like I do not give that shit out. I will give my phone number out probably more than I'll give my email address out these days because that is currency online. If somebody's willing to give you their email to get what you're saying, like that's huge because they're giving you access to them. It's like me saying, oh, you can call me and you can ask me questions. They're saying you can go into my real estate, my personal email box, and I'm going to allow you access to it. And that opens this door to being able to build a relationship with them. You can now email them every week. You can now offer more value. You can now teach them more. And eventually you can offer your services or products. So that was a huge, everything I did surrounded building my list. So and the second thing that there was pretty much three things. There was the list building, email marketing. There was also, I focused on 2 platforms for 8 months. The first 8 months, I was only active on Google Plus and Pinterest. I was not on Twitter until almost the end of last year. I was not on Blab. I was not on Facebook. I was on none of that shit. I focused on 2. And that's what I mean. Like, I spent every day. I know all the main players on Google Plus. I know all the main players on Pinterest. I know who they are. I built a relationship with them. I email them. I share their work. And I stayed really focused on that. The third thing that I did was I created a lot of live events. So I created a lot of what I call mini courses, because I don't like the word webinar. So I created a lot of mini courses and a lot of opportunities where I could talk to my people and I could, help them, train them. And again, they were huge list builders for me, because even after I created it, I then promoted the replay, and I offer people, if you want to give me your email address, you can get instant access to the replay. So there was really just those 3 main things. And then if there was a fourth, I finally started my private Facebook group. And again, that was huge for me, because it allowed me to talk to my peeps and really engage with my peeps more. So if there were 2 things I focused on, it is relationship building and email marketing.
I'm subscribed to your newsletter for like 3 months now. And, each letter feels like it's addressed to me personally. How did you achieve that? What is the secret of email marketing that's that enchanting? That makes people read the rather sizable letter to the end? The letters are big, and I read each of them to the very end. So what's the secret?
I love that. And you called it enchanting. I'm going to use that word more. I don't hear that word enough. Here's the deal. It was the other 3 brands that I failed, because it took me a long time to find my voice, because I did come from corporate America, where you're not supposed to have a voice. You write an email like, I need this by this date. It was really hard for me. So I did a lot of exercises that I share with my people, so talking to my friends, being really conscious of the words that I'm using, and finding my voice. That's really the secret sauce. It's actually a lot harder than people think to find that voice, to tap in, so when I call a friend, my best friend, how I write my emails is exactly how I write them to my friends. I mean, you see, I use slang, I use quirky punctuation, I use these things, I use those like, parentheses, and I put all these like inner thoughts. I'll be like she says, with giddy excitement, So I write legit how I talk. And that is really hard to get to. It takes time, but that's really the secret sauce about email marketing in a non-icky way, is that I have people tell me all the time, like, when I read your emails, I can hear your voice. I can hear you like manically talking really fast. Yeah. And I can hear your cadence, and I can see how, I'm Italian. So I do all these like hand, I'm always using my hands, but people can hear me in my writing. But that took time.
Oh, well, yeah, that's inspiring, really. So we'll try to, I know I will try to find my way. So do you think there will be more solopreneurs like yourself, or less in the future? And what's the tendency that you see globally and in America?
Yeah, I think globally, I think all over the world, it will be more, because what the internet has done and what technology has done is create opportunity. I mean, we just didn't have this opportunity 15 years ago. I mean, you really did have to have a corporation behind you, and you had to have significant amount of money to have your own business. And these days, that's just not the case. If you are willing to make the investment, whether that's time or money, you can do it. And people want, and a lot of us, especially in the US, are getting really disillusioned with the corporate world and being just a number. We want to live these lives of purpose, and we want to do shit that we actually love, not just work for a check. It's like Groundhog's Day for a lot of us, and we don't want it anymore. We don't want to accept status quo. And the internet affords you the opportunity to live out your dreams. And that's why you said everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, because guess what? Everybody has a dream. And for a long time, you had to suck that dream up, and that dream had to be unattainable. And that's not the case anymore. And it's the most amazing thing that you can make your dream come true these days. So it is not going to slow down. There is going to be, look at the small business movement. Like, there is so much small business. 15 years ago, everything was, maybe even 25. 15 years ago, there was still a lot of small businesses coming up. But, 20 years ago, there wasn't a lot of small business. You had to be a corporation to do anything. That's not the case. The solopreneur word, this whole movement of the solo, that's very new, but it's so real that it's only going to grow.
Okay, but do you think that small local businesses have no future without going online? And there still needs to be industry. There still needs to be factories where thousands
Absolutely.
of people are working. So yeah.
Yeah, well, and ask the people around. I don't have one single, real world friend that I've had for 20 years that wants to be an entrepreneur. Not one in my life. They're like, fuck that. You want to work 100 hours? I want to go to work. I want to get off at 5 and I want to go party all night. I don't want to work. So I don't think we're in risk of that. There's a lot of people that don't want this lifestyle. They love going to work. They love knowing that they get off at 5 every day. They love knowing that they get paid every other week, or 15th and the 30th. So I don't think we need to be worried about the factories and all that stuff. There's tons of people that don't want to be an entrepreneur. As far as a small business, you don't have to be online. There's tons of businesses that are, local driven. It depends what your business is. Some of it's not really going to benefit you too much to go too deep online, but it is going to benefit you. For the bakery example, you might want to get the people that come into your place to sign up for your email list so you can still talk to them, but you don't necessarily need to be on social media. Here's the other thing though, with email marketing, for instance, you could put a pixel on your website, and then you can go on Facebook and do ads to everybody that's popped on your website. So again, if people are going to your website, that's probably local. Or again, they go to the store, you give them a postcard, you say visit this page, and you can get a 15% discount. As soon as they hit that page, their email is then collected as far as Facebook goes, because you put this code on your website, and then you can go on Facebook and you can create advertising that targets just those people. So there's always opportunities to leverage things online, but that doesn't mean that you have to be a social media driven business if you're local, type thing. But there's all these different kinds of ways and technology that can help you reach all your local clientele.
Well, what kind of site building do you prefer, and what branded solopreneur is powered by? What would you recommend? What would you recommend for a first-time site owner? What's the easiest and the most efficient way to go to create the first site? Okay,
so here is my little mini rant on this. I don't care what tool we're talking about, I always say use the one that works for you the best. Now the ones that I use, so same thing with design. I'm not always you have to use Illustrator, you have to use Photoshop. If Canva works for you, great. If a PowerPoint works for you, great. When it comes to a website, the two I would say to look at and start with are Squarespace and WordPress.org. Here's the thing with WordPress.com is the one that you don't have to pay anything. You create the website on their dashboard, on their platform. If you're really serious about business, you do need to make an investment. And getting hosting and a domain is usually less than $100 a year. It's not that hard. And I'm sorry, I know there's a conversion for you guys over in your neck of the woods.
I totally agree. But yeah, but if you want to do SSL, you need more than $100. Yeah, that's an investment. That's exactly. Not for everyone, right?
Yeah, you have to be willing to make a slight investment. Squarespace, It is so great. I know a lot of beginners that are overwhelmed by WordPress, and Squarespace just works for them. It hits it, and they have so many, they're growing leaps and bounds. They have tons of plugins that make things easy, like opt-ins and shopping carts and delivering, freebies and that kind of stuff. Those are the two I would start with, but I would always say you need to get a real website if you want a real business. We had this huge movement the last 10 years of this whole hobby blogger movement, and so it's people blogging about their family or their wedding and that sort of stuff. That's what like the blogger platform's great for. That's what WordPress.com is great for. But if you want a business, you need to make an investment on the website side, and that doesn't have to be thousands of dollars by any means, but those are the two platforms that will grow with you, that are beautiful, are very easy to use for no tech skills. I mean, it is still a learning curve, but you don't need coding or any of this highly technical expertise. And there's so much support on both of them. So as soon as you're stuck, there's a million forums. There's help desk. Like every plugin has support behind it. So you're never going to get in a corner where you're not going to know what the hell to do. There's always avenues with those two platforms to go get help very easily and for free.
Yeah. So
the last part of your question is that I'm on WordPress.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm all out of my questions, but we have questions from the audience. The first one is from Julia. She asks, what brand impacts you most?
Ooh. I like brands that do things that are led by human behaviors. So for instance, Zappos. I love Zappos. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Ooh, so they're global. We love it. They're free shipping, free returns. They have the most amazing customer service. I like brands that understand and appreciate and celebrate their customers. So I like them. I like Apple. I like a lot of local brands. I like brands that put us first. It's not this like herd mentality. They lead with customer service. I think customer service has gone to shit in a handbasket the last 10 years, and people are just not treated like they are. People don't respond on social media when you tag. Like I have a winery, it's called ERAF. And obviously I love boozy brands, but they're great. And they, they respond to everybody that ever tags them. They give you free tastings. I mean, brands that understand when I'm talking and hyping you up on social media, like thank me, like celebrate your customers. So those are the brands that move me. And I also like a lot of American made stuff, because I think too many things in this country are going to other countries, and they're not putting money back into our local economies. So I also like brands that employ people in our country and are putting things back into our local communities, because that's really important to me.
Good answer. The second one is from Christopher. He says, hi, Andrea. When it comes to branding healthy drinks, do you think that the consumers want to see the main ingredients depicted on the front to show what it contains, or do just bright, attractive colors for the brand name only matter? Thank you very much.
That's a very broad question, but here's what I will say. Absolutely. Anything that we consume, we want to know what the hell is in it. That's my big problem with all these like big food brands, is that they lie. All this stuff is like stuck on the back of the little bag of the label, and you're like, oh, this shit does have fructose. Or they call it a different name, and you're like, you tricky bitch. So absolutely. And here's the other thing, is that if it is organic and natural and there's these natural ingredients, that's also what your color palette should be. So if you mean there's spinach and carrots in there, get it, invest in it, especially when you're a food brand, you need to invest in your labeling. So invest in a really good label that's got, carrots and spinach and it's great. And then make your color palette for your organic brand very organic. Look to the colors of your ingredients and look into the manner that you grow these ingredients, and take all of your cues from your branding, including your palettes and your color or your fonts and your color palettes and all that stuff, look to nature. Like, a lot of people don't know, it's like you can take a picture, you can actually take a picture. Like if you had a farm or a garden, you can take that picture, and there's programs like Adobe Color CC. You upload that picture for free, and it will automatically create 6 palettes for you out of the colors in that photo. And that's a really good tip for you know, people that are doing food brands and natural brands and really organic brands. I have a client that's selling sea salts and a lot of beachy products, and it's like we got the color palette out of taking beach scenes and taking the colors straight out of there. Think about it. Mother Nature already created the palettes. Like, we don't need to recreate the wheel. Like, get it from Mother Nature, and it's going to feel as organic as it possibly can because it's real. So hopefully that helped. And I think his name was Rick. So hopefully that helped, Rick.
Christopher, yeah.
Christopher, sorry.
What? Yeah.
Sorry. Bad with names.
One more is, was it hard to make a decision to become a solopreneur rather than being an office worker? I guess you answered it already, but maybe you can.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Make no mistake, that was super scary, and I had ass sweats for a good year and a half. It's very scary, but like I said, this has been my dream. So this is a dream that I live, breathe, sleep, eat, and I am the one that is happy to work 100 hours so that I never have to sit in a cubicle again. If I have to sit in a cubicle again, I'm gonna blow my brains out. I cannot do it. It's just, it makes me miserable. It sucks my soul out. It honestly, it made me sick, like physically ill and mentally ill, and it was just awful. But it's very scary. But if that's truly your dream, like, fill it. Like, find a way to do it. I'm just all about, you know, dreams are not these unattainable things. Like, we live in this new world where opportunity is in abundance. And if that means that for a year you need to work on the side with your business and still hustle at that full time for the steady paycheck, do it. If this is truly your dream, connect with people like me and the others out there that are willing to support you, you know, whether it's just to vent and inspire you and share our own insecurities and all that stuff. If this is truly what you want to do, make it happen.
That's a quite an inspiring note to end webinar on.
I know, I thought that was a good note to end. I agree.
Can you wish something to our viewers, to your viewers, and well, something to say them to?
Yes, I want to kind of end on that same inspiring note. I am just a real girl. I am just a real one over here with my little 2-bedroom apartment with a big ass lofty dream, and I failed a million times. So I want everybody out there to understand that this is not impossible, that you do not have to be born with the silver spoon, that you do not have to have millions of dollars. What you need is heart, drive, soul. You need to be ready to make this work. But there are people out there like me that want to celebrate the shit out of you, and we want to make this happen. Like, I am so ready to, you know, support anybody out there that's hungry enough to make this happen. So like I said, never let anybody tell you that your dream is impossible. And I would love to connect with anybody out there that wants real talk about this, that has any questions. I'm super transparent, and I'm happy to help anybody that wants to get this done.
We'll add, if you don't mind, we'll add the branded solopreneur to the description of the YouTube video, and we have it on the landing of the on Startup Hub page. So yeah, so we have landings to Andrea's site everywhere. So connect with her. I guess we answered a lot of questions and helped.
I hope so. Yeah, that was a lot of good info, a lot of good questions that hopefully I gave some really actionable tips to. So.
It was great. Thanks a lot. That was just as I dreamt it.
Yay! Well, thanks, Jeff. I appreciate you reaching out. This has sort of been in the works for a while, and I'm glad that we can make it happen for your peeps.
Thank you. See ya.